Alright, so for a while now I've been saying I was going to make a gear build video, and my gear is finally about ready to make the video, so here it is. First I'm going to go over all my stats and my guns and my armor. I'm sitting at 163k DPS with my Vector, 87,780 health, and just under 11,000 skill power. Total 2386 firearms, which is just enough to unlock the Brutal. I believe that requires 2362. Almost 3000 stamina, 2926, and 1099 electronics. Got 40% crit chance on my gear, 154% crit damage, 114 headshot damage, and yeah, I just recently hit enough armor to reach near max mitigation. Not quite totally max, I'm 5 armor short. It's really important in PvP especially to be close to, if not all the way maxed out, which is 65%. It requires 4,640 armor to do so, and very, very important. The gun that I use is this Vector. It rolled really good. It has Deadly, Brutal, and Skilled. Skilled is a very, very good talent to have, especially in the last slot. If you didn't notice, the last slot doesn't have any requirements. It's free. And normally Skilled wouldn't be usable for me because it would require 2362 electronics. And Brutal also requires 2362 firearms. So in order to get both of those, you'd have very, very low health. Like on my MP5 here, it has Skilled, but it's not in the last slot, so I can't actually use it. My Vector does do less DPS, but it's set up for burst fire, and with the Skilled talent, headshot kills increase my signature skill resources by 11%, meaning a maximum of 9 enemies need to die to the head, and I will get my my signature skill back up. Very, very powerful, especially in PvP, and in PvE, I can pop my damage sig and clear the room, and it'll be back up pretty much right away. It's really, really awesome. In PvP, I chose to run with a black market AK-74 rather than my M1A, and the only talent that I wanted was Skilled in the last slot. The others, I would like to have nicer talents that increase the damage, but the most important thing for me is Skilled, so that I can use my AK-74 to kill NPCs and save the ammo for my Vector for actual PvPing. Otherwise, I run out of ammo with my Vector way too fast. I use the Damascus Pistol that you get the blueprint for when you hit level 30, and the reason why is it has the harmful talent, 12.5 crit, or 12.5% chance to apply a bleed status effect to the target, and if the target's bleeding, they can't sprint and they can't climb over anything. So in PvP, we usually, if someone's running away and we're chasing them, we'll pull out our pistols and I'll try to make them bleed, and it's real nice for trying to catch up to them. As far as armor goes, I'm currently wearing the Reckless chest piece. It's a stamina roll on it. Currently, Reckless is actually bugged, and the way it's bugged is it says it increases damage by 13% and increases incoming damage by 10%. But in fact, it's actually reducing incoming damage by 10%, giving you a total of 20% more damage reduction than intended on this chest piece. 10% damage reduction total from not wearing this chest piece. When they fix it, I'm going to be switching up to the Vigorous chest piece that grants overheal to your healing ability, which I use first aid. And then I could use booster shot instead. So I do have a backup for when they do fix it. Mask, of course, I'm currently using a rehabilitated mask. This is also bugged, the 2% healing every second. It works even after your status effect wears off, and pretty much everyone's wearing this. When it does get nerfed, I will be using one of the other masks, probably the one that gives either 9% damage when using a medkit, or the one that removes status effects when using a medkit. Important stats here for me were high base armor, crit chance, and a socket, or a mod slot. Originally I had 2 mod slots when I was short on armor, but once I had enough armor, I was able to roll it into crit chance, and that was quite nice. Same thing goes with the chest. I forgot to mention, chest has a high armor roll on it, I would prefer to have 2 slots. The health on kill, I would prefer to have another slot. That would be preferred, but I don't have it. It's also a very low stamina roll, especially for a 31, but it's got decent armor on it. Not quite as good as my gunslinger vest. When my gunslinger vest gets a socket rolled onto it, it will be very, very nice. Even higher armor. I believe I'll be able to drop one of my armor mod slots for a crit chance mod slot instead. Knee pads, these were purchased a couple weeks ago when they were sold at the vendor. They've got the perceptive talent, very high stamina, crit damage, scavenging, shock resistance, burn resistance, pulse crit damage in a slot. Pretty nice set. Can't get too much better than that. Pretty simple there. As far as backpacks, I haven't been crafting any more backpacks because of the bug that's been going around, but might not be backpacks, it turns out. I'm probably just going to start crafting some more. The talent on this is not important to me. I would like the one that increases skill power while at full health. This is one of my firearms pieces of gear. Important attributes for me are crit damage. The others are mostly just a bonus. I used to run pulse, but I currently don't run pulse anymore, so a lot of my gear has pulse critical hit damage on it, and it's not too necessary for my current build. This one's slotted with a stamina armor mod. Gloves, of course, I'm using the Savage Talent gloves, which gives you 13% crit to targets out of cover, which is pretty much everyone in PvP, and the majority of NPCs when you're doing challenge modes or killing enemies in the dark zone. These cost me quite a bit to re-roll. I finally got them after spending 325 Phoenix credits for the roll that I finally got, which was crit damage. They've got crit chance, crit damage, and SMG damage. Prior to my PvP build, I preferred damage to elites rather than SMG damage, but definitely if you're PvPing, you're going to want to go with whatever main gun you use. Skill attribute, unfortunately, isn't perfect, and the armor on this is pretty low. The base armor on this is quite low. I'd prefer to have it in the 400 range, but can't be too picky. Holsters. It's very important that you have an armor roll on your holster. You have a couple of different options with holsters. You can either go with a 3-stat holster and an armor roll with no mod slot, or you can go with a 2-stat holster with an armor roll and a mod slot. I've tried both. I have both. But I did need the electronics in order to give me a full overheal. And that's why I run this now. But I was able to reach the max amount of armor and mitigation with using just an armor roll on my holster, an armor roll on my chest. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 mod slots, all with armor, and high base armor on all of my items, other than my gloves. I think my gloves are very low base armor. And yeah, pretty much all set here. As far as gear, I just want better versions of each gear. The holster talent is not a good one. It's increased armor 13% when staying more than 10 seconds in cover. Completely useless for me. I would prefer the steadfast talent, which is health regeneration, kicks in twice as fast while in cover. I have this real nice holster here, but it doesn't have armor on it, so it doesn't work out for me. This was my old PvE holster, very nice holster here. But as you can see, I have just enough armor. I'm missing 5 armor, 4,640 is what you need, so I'm 0.07% away from being max. As far as abilities go, when I PvP, I run First Aid Overdose, which gives you an overheal. My base healing is really low. It's only 20,000, and I have quite a large health pool, so I don't actually use this to heal myself. I use this to give me an overheal when I'm full health. Before I fight, I will pop this, give myself the overheal, which if you get a full overheal is 50% of your health pool. You do need a certain amount of skill power to give yourself a proper overheal, unless you walk in and out of the first aid. But once you reach your max overheal, which is 50%, you'll see it go to half of your health bar. Having more skill power does not benefit your overheal in any way. It doesn't make it go more than 50%. So for me, I needed that extra skill power to give myself a proper heal. When the Reckless chest gets fixed, I will be running the Vigorous chest, which gives me overheal, and I will start using Booster Shot. Booster Shot says it increases damage, but it also decreases damage taken. It doesn't say that in here, but it does actually, when you cast it on yourself, tell you that you're taking reduced damage, dealing more damage. It's a much smaller heal, and unfortunately, the Vigorous chest doesn't give me as strong of an overheal with my current skill power, so I might need to spec into some more electronics, or maybe turn my mask or backpack into skill power, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, or maybe a mod slot with skill power, something to give me a little bit more so I can get a full proper overheal before I go into combat. I used to use Pulse, but usually we have 2 people in our group with Pulse, and since I have very low skill power, I'd rather not use it. And when we do PvP, I use Scrambler. Pulse is protecting the user and allies from hostile pulse scans. It hides you from the radar. It also prevents their pulse from causing you extra damage, which is real nice. But what I currently use is the Sticky Bomb. The Sticky Bomb Flash, which flashes them, blinds them, and it causes a disrupt, a small EMP, so they can't actually cast their signature skill or whatever. And in PvP, I always use the blue Survivor Link Security Wing signature skill, as everyone knows is very, very powerful. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go over my talents, actually. The talents that I choose to use: Critical Save. Use a medkit during low health to increase damage resistance by 40% for 10 seconds. This is really, really crucial when you're almost dead. I use medkits exclusively to heal myself. I don't use my first aid to heal myself unless it's a major emergency and I don't have a medkit. I try to use my first aid just for the overshield and medkits to heal, and I like to wait until I'm almost dead to use a medkit. The other one I use is Combat Medic. The description is: use a medkit near allies to heal group members and proxies within 20 meters by 40%. This also affects you, so this gives you 40% better healing, and you will get a full heal from your med pack if you're using this Combat Medic. I don't know if that's intended to give you the bonus or not, but it does, and it's really, really noticeable, really good. I used to use this one, using it when not at full health to receive an overheal, but it's just definitely not as good as the Combat Medic. Another nice one is On the Move. If you kill a hostile while moving, you reduce incoming damage by 30% for 10 seconds, and this goes above and beyond your 65% total mitigation. The downside is in PvP, you actually have to kill them fully to get this to proc. If you just down them and they're crawling around, it doesn't count. So if you want this to go off and there's no NPCs around, you do want to shoot them on the ground while moving, and you'll get that damage reduction, which is a huge noticeable difference. That extra 30% is really huge when you're PvPing. And finally, one is None. I feel everyone should be using this. Headshot a hostile to have a 50% chance of not consuming the bullet. Not only does this make my ammo last a lot more, it also increases your DPS if you're getting headshots, because it basically is giving you free ammo directly to your magazine. And not only does it give you a chance to not consume the bullet that you didn't consume has another chance to not consume the bullet. So theoretically it could be infinite, very, very unlikely, but the math does say it could be infinite if you are infinitely lucky. Very good skill, and these are the 4 that I choose. I think that covers everything here. I may have missed something, but probably not. I'll go back over my character stats again. Firearms are just high enough to unlock the Brutal talent, which is 2362 on firearms, 2362 firearms. So I can't actually drop any mod slots or anything that give me firearms right now, because I'm just a little bit over, 24 firearms over. Stamina, I have my stamina as high as possible because of my overshield. I've definitely noticed having a higher health pool is much more beneficial than having more DPS. I've tried playing at around 60k DP or 60k health with like 200k DPS, and it is not even close to as beneficial as having a higher health pool. And electronics, I recommend just enough to get a proper overheal. Any more than that with this build is not necessary, as the electronics don't really affect the build much other than that. So I like to keep my crit chance and crit damage ratios. My rule of thumb is around 1 to 5. So 10 crit chance equals 50 crit damage, 30 crit chance, 150 crit damage. But there's a lot of places that you don't really have a choice. Where that comes into effect is if you had to choose between crit chance or crit damage. Now currently, if I had to choose between adding more crit chance or crit damage, it would obviously be crit damage. I'd like to have about 200 crit damage with 40 crit chance, and that doesn't even include my gloves that add another 13, or any pulses that are out that add even more. So if you're looking at a mod slot on your weapon, like a muzzle, and you're wondering, should I have crit chance or crit damage, you can pretty much bet that crit damage is going to be the way to go. Oh, I know what I forgot. Let's go over the mods on my Vector. This is what I'm currently running. I have a CQB-SS scope that I crafted, headshot damage and crit chance. My muzzle brake is stability and crit damage. I crafted this as well. Now the grip itself, I did not craft. You can't craft currently a stability grip. The only ones that I've been able to find have accuracy. And this is stability and horizontal stability. It's the best one I've been able to find. It's a really nice grip. And accuracy on submachine guns I feel is useless unless you're burst firing it, and I don't burst fire my submachine gun. And accuracy in this game gives you a false DPS increase. If I threw a laser that gave me accuracy and hip fire accuracy, my DPS would go way up, but it wouldn't actually be any higher. The game just scales. It's assuming the more accurate your gun is, the more headshots you're going to get. So accuracy and headshot damage scale together. As far as magazines go, with the Vector, because the Vector is very good at burst DPS, I go with a magazine size rate of fire, and I crafted this really nice mag, 102.5% with a 27% rate of fire. I've never got a better mag than this one. I could run crit damage. My sheet DPS is definitely lower with crit damage by 10,000. And my burst DPS suffers quite a bit with the crit damage. With the MP5, I actually prefer to run the crit damage mag. And with the Vector, I like to run the rate of fire mag. And it's just because the MP5 is a lot better sustained DPS gun, and the Vector is a lot better at burst DPS. Now, after I've gotten used to firing the Vector with the fast rate of fire, I might change my mind if I ever switch back to the MP5. Currently, I don't use my MP5 because it doesn't have skilled on it. Well, it actually does. It's brutal, fierce, and skilled. It's a really nasty MP5. It's got huge damage, almost does 9,000 damage a bullet with very high base crit and 8 crit on the weapon. But not having that skilled talent is really noticeable, and I feel I can kill faster with the Vector. It only does 1,300 more damage a shot, surprisingly, but because of how much damage it does quickly, I've been using this, and mostly because of the skilled. If I had these same talents on the MP5, I would definitely be using the MP5. If this skilled talent just rolled instead of fierce in the bottom slot, I'd be really happy. Although then I probably wouldn't have fierce unlocked, because I think it's like 1,800 electronics, something like that. As far as my M1A that I use in PvE, it's a nice M1A. It does have low headshot damage, but it has brutal and balanced. This was actually sold for an hour at one of the vendors. The thing with brutal is, with all guns, brutal is actually bugged right now, and it's multiplicative and additive. So brutal on marksman rifles is very, very powerful because it's giving you a multiplicative 19.5. So it's adding 19.5% of 131 to your total, and then it's additive. It's adding a flat 19.5, which is pretty crazy. That happens with SMGs as well, but SMGs only have a base of 50 headshot damage, and that's not that much. Assault rifles have a base of 75 headshot damage, and marksman rifles have whatever they rolled here. So that's if you've wondered why you have more headshot damage than you can account for, that is why. It's because Brutal is multiplicative and additive. But I think that covers everything. Went through all my gear. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and can use it to better your character or get a good idea of what you're trying to shoot for. Let me know if you have any suggestions or anything that I should try out and change. I'm pretty set in my ways here now after trying many different builds, many different ways, going higher electronics, going lower electronics, lower stamina, higher firearms. This seems to be by far the best balance for me. I don't want to add any more firearms. In fact, I'd much rather add more stamina to this build. If I had any choice to add any more anything, it would be stamina, unless I needed electronics to get a better overheal. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out all the other videos, and I'll see you guys around the channel.